to the preserve. So we can, if this property is acquired by the town and is saved as open space, whether it's added officially or not to the Franck Preserve, it would allow us to increase the trail system within the Franck Preserve by approximately 35%. And that's significant. It'll make it a better experience for everyone. It'll reduce the amount of traffic and the possibility of encountering too many people on your walk in the forest. And I think it would just be a boon all around to the citizens of Bethel. And I think that's really all I wanted to address. And like I said, our board that helps manage the Franck Preserve in partnership with Eileen and Bethel Parks and Recreation, we see the value of this land as perhaps being outsized or larger than the actual property involved because of its location and its attributes. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Lou. Deanna, it looks like Hillary Kirk has her hand raised.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Hillary Kirk. I live at 10 Jacobs Lane, and I just wanted to follow on to what Lou said. I actually joined the board with Lou in November, and I have children in the school system. And one of the reasons I joined is because we all enjoy this one thing we really love about Bethel. So as well as, other families that I know, particularly during the quarantine, we all used the trails and the parks, and it's something we love about the town. So I just wanted to show my concurrence with what Lou said as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I don't see any other hands up.
I want to put a hand up.
Yep, get Mary Ann Kula.
Yeah, hi. I live at 17 Good Hill Road in Bethel. And, I just want to say I support what Lou is saying, because so many of the natural areas that existed in Bethel when I came here are totally gone. They're housing projects now. And to have some real old growth woods is important. I mean, so that people can see what that looks like, because it's different. And it has a different vibe and a peacefulness about it. So I'm hoping, we will be able to preserve this land. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I don't see anybody else.
Yeah, don't see anyone with hands up through the Zoom feature. Anybody
I don't know
waving
how
their-
to put my hand up on
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
tried to find it.
Yeah, Marion
Sorry.
Dasick.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm a volunteer with the Franck Preserve and owner.
Miriam, I'm sorry, what's your address?
Sorry, 80 Chestnut Street.
Thank you.
So I'm a volunteer with the Franck Preserve and also property owner of a couple of condos here in Bethel. And I just want to add my support for this also, both as someone who's interested in preserving green space. And again, like we said about the pandemic, having those spaces to go when, we run out of other options for recreation is really important. So I'm here just to add my voice.
Good deal. Thank you very much, Miriam.
Thank you.
All right.
I don't see any other hands up, Dion, either in the chat feature or in the pictures.
Nope.
Okay. All right. So let's move on then to the next agenda item, which is correspondence. Do we have any?
Now I have a letter. I didn't get it in time to post it, but it's from Don Warfield. Would you like for me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Dear board, it's actually to the Board of Selectmen, but it was sent for the meeting tonight. I'm writing to report that last night, March 25th on 2021, at our monthly meeting, the Board of Directors of the Bethel Land Trust unanimously and enthusiastically endorsed the proposal of the town to purchase the Draper property on Shelley Road. The board specifically cited the land's important conservation and community value. The land features a mature mix of deciduous forest and containing interesting geological features, including an escarpment, ravine, natural stonage, outcropping, but most importantly, this property borders both Bethel's Franck Preserves and Newtown's Preserve, nearly 150 acres in total, and it's a critical part in this larger biome. Were the plan submitted by the developer approved, it would mean that fragmentations of the most mature forest in these two preserves carrying the risk of disturbing species such as the woodpecker, a tanager, two of the more spectacular birds in the area that are frequently observed in our preserves. These species require habitats of very large, unbroken swaths of mature forests for survival. In addition, the proposed development would greatly diminish the experience for those walking on the heavily used red trails that link the two preserves, as part of its only 30 yards from the property line. Perhaps most importantly, the preservation of this piece of land would afford us the opportunity to create a new trail without cutting down a single tree. Trail would traverse both land within the Franck Preserve and the new property. The new trail would represent a substantial increase from 1.9 to 2.65 miles in the overall trail length of the Franck Preserves. The natural beauty of this new trail and the increase it represents in the length of trails in the preserve will be a boom to its many users. It will also mean decreasing the likelihood of encountering too many other individuals on a hike, which, owing to the increasing popularity of the preserve, is becoming a concern. In fact, in order to provide us with a very rough estimate of how many people visit the Franck Preserve, we conducted a survey in 2020. In a single day, we counted 103 automobiles entering the preserve parking area, an impressive number despite failing to capture the many local residents who walk to the preserve or those individuals who access it from Shelley Road's entrance. In summary, the opportunity presented by the purchase will serve the community well by protecting a biologically important piece of property and by enhancing the experience for the many citizens who enjoy the Franck Preserve. As the stewards of the Franck Preserves who continue to improve and maintain it, the people or the members of the Bethel Land Trust and Friends of the Franck Preserve and its active membership are prepared to help mobilize support for this acquisition. With warm regards, Don Orfeld, the Bethel Land Trust, Friends of the Franck Preserve. That's it.
Thank you, Dion. And I take it that letter will be added to the materials for the meeting.
Yes.
Okay, good.
It'll be
And that
added
is
to
it
the
for-
minutes. Yes.
And that's it for correspondence?
Yes.
Okay, next agenda item, we have prior meeting minutes to approve. Let's take them in order of the dates, right? First, we've got minutes from the regular meeting of Tuesday, April 13th. As the minutes were distributed earlier, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
So moved.
Sorry, who was that?
Robert and Nick. All right, discussion. All right, I don't see any discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 I
Bob, could I
abstain.
ask a procedural question?
I'm abstaining.
Dion, I'm abstaining. I wasn't there.
Okay.
Sorry, somebody had a procedural question?
I do. There is someone who is actually on the chat and expressing support for the purchase of the property. So does that go into our public comment, or how do you guys want to handle that? I just wasn't sure if everyone saw that.
Yeah, good catch, Dee. I did not see it. I do see it
Oh,
now
I
from John Hill.
apologize.
Yeah, my apologies for that. I just didn't want to waste the commission's time with re-emphasizing points that were already made. This is John Hill, 56 Worcester.
If everybody's okay with it, John, I can just go ahead and add you as a public comment. Just, it'll be your name and your address.
Perfect for me. Yes, thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks, Dee, for
Lane.
catching that. Yeah. All right, the next set of minutes is for the special meeting that began on May 4th and was recessed until May 24th. We are actually approving the combined minutes since the May 4th minutes were approved at the May 11th meeting. Again, seeing that the minutes were distributed in advance, entertain a motion to approve as submitted.
So moved.
Do we have a second? It looks like we got D on a second. Discussion. Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And let's see, hold on, I just gotta check something. All right, as to this, we have 2 abstentions, right? Brian and Cynthia. Okay.
Yes.
All right, the third set of minutes go to the regular meeting of May 11th. Again, seeing that the meetings were distributed in advance, entertain a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
So moved.
Do you have a second? Now it looks like D is seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 And
I'm pretty sure I was at that meeting. I just wanted to confirm that.
yes,
I was at, yeah, that's why I was saying aye.
and then an abstention, Brian, presumably. Yep, okay. All right, that gets us through the administrative part. Now let's go into the next agenda item, the approval of the suspense list. I do see Ann, so I'd like to turn it over to Ann at this time for the annual discussion of the suspense list.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Probably for Karen, because I don't think she has been here for the suspense. I'll just give a brief summary of what the suspense list is. The suspense list are people that I deem uncollectible. Either they're 3 years old or older, the taxes, only motor vehicle and personal property. And anything that's of a newer year has already been placed in suspense in a prior year. So if you see 2019 on there, which is our newest year, those people were either in there prior or we have no correct address for them, or they're in bankruptcy. So people do see lots of friends on there or people that they know and they know where they live. It's just the process that we do. It makes them, I consider them uncollectible, but they're always collectible for 15 years. I put them in with a collection agency. We've been using the same one currently for about 6 years now. They're doing a great job for us. There is an increase this year. If you look over from last year to this year, it was almost $54,000. I will tell you that that is not a COVID related increase, because these are taxes that are owed prior to COVID. I mean, there may be a few people that are on there because of COVID, but the majority of these are people that are 3 years back or further. Any questions?
Any questions for Ann any questions among the Board of Finance members?
No.
Okay, I see most folks shaking their head. All right, if that's the case, then entertain a motion to accept the suspense list as submitted by the tax collector.
Move to accept the suspense list as submitted by the tax collector.
Do we have a second? Dee's jumping in on the second row. All right. Any discussion? Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nick, I saw your lips move, Nick, but you're good? Okay. The audio didn't come across. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ann.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the next agenda item, consideration of capital equipment purchase or purchases for Park and Rec from the capital non-recurring account. I see Matt.
Yep.
Um,
Hi, everybody.
Eileen's
Eileen
on
is-
also.
Yeah, Eileen is on her phone. If you flip to page 2, you'll see her phone number displayed. in there.
Actually, it has her name on it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yep, got it down the bottom.
Okay, so,
Yep.
so very briefly, at last week's meeting, the Board of Selectmen approved part of the Park and Rec request for equipment. Some of this equipment goes back, it's in the current fiscal year, and it goes back to the prior fiscal year. It was held off. So what we approved to go to the Board of Finance for your consideration tonight is, if you look at the letter that Eileen had left with the Board of Selectmen, there are 6 items. We approved the first 4. That is the walk-behind mower, the Ventrac aerator, the Ventrac mowing deck, and the Exmark mower and these items number 1 and number 4 are to replace aging machines that are increasingly breaking down and aging out. There are 2 other items on there, the dog park expense and moving the well. Those are held back. The plan there is to enlarge the surface area of the dog park. But in order to do that, the well must be moved because the well cannot be within a close proximity of a dog park, obviously enough. So that's still up in the air, as they say. So those 4 items, the walk-behind mower, Ventrac aerator, Ventrac mowing deck, and Exmark mower are up for your consideration. And I would like to turn the floor over to Eileen if she has any comments before you put that on the floor to discuss.
Okay, so the 2 mowers, the Exmark and the walk-behind, are replacing, the walk-behind is very old and has many hours on it, as well as the Exmark is 8 years old and has over many hours of use. The 2 Ventrac things, the Ventrac aerator and overseeder will help us keep our grasses looking the way they are in our athletic fields, as well as areas like the municipal center and the library. And then the mowing deck is a mowing deck, which is different than when we purchased it. We have like a deck that cuts brush and heavy vines and everything. This will mow grasses, which will be helpful with the areas that we have now left at the schools that are some of them are over 30-degree incline, but it will help us at least get to the 30 before we have to use weed whackers and things like that. So those are the items that we are, and as Matt said, 2 of them were supposed to be purchased last year, and so.
And if I can add one thing to that, thank you, Eileen. The total of those 4 items comes to 41,000.
400.
I'm sorry.
53.50 back.
Hello?
I think Eileen's talking to somebody who she's with. I think, Matt, you're about to tell us it's 41,796.10.
Correct. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
All right, fair enough.
And that would come from current and prior CNR funds.
Okay. Matt, I just, and maybe this is, go ahead, Nick.
Eileen said that there's many hours. Can we just have an idea? Is it 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 hours on these machines? And do they still have value, and where are they going?
The Exmark does not have a value. The hours have made it to where the engine, it doesn't accelerate enough to power the blades enough to cut. So we would not be using it. There's, and I can't give you the number of hours exactly. And then the same with the walk behind, but it's a 2006 walk behind that we've been able to maintain, and we do have many smaller islands that we have to cut now. So.
Well, I know a little bit about lawnmowers. Why are we just not repowering it, putting a brand new engine on it for a couple $1,000?
Because it's 8 years old, and I feel that we,
Okay. Thank you.
All Before I do have a question, but before I have a question, any other question from the Board of Finance members?
have a question.
Cynthia.
It's sort of along the lines of what Nick said, because I'm wondering if, I mean, I brought my lawnmower to where they get it, and, you know, it's like a brand new mower now. And I'm sure that there are some cases where we can do things like that. And that's just, I don't quite understand it. The other thing is I don't quite understand why we can't know or find out, like, the hours, 1,000 hours, 5,000 hours. That's really my only comment. I think we need to get more information when these things come up. I mean, how are we going to have? But the point is, we don't really have a lot of information.
Fucking bust Eileen's balls all the time.
Ann, I'm
Hey,
sorry,
somebody-
Ann, you're not on mute,
Hey.
Ann Skako.
Oh,
Oh, I didn't know.
Sorry, no worries. Eileen,
Yep.
I'm sorry. It looked like you were going to reply to Cynthia.
Oh, me? No. No, I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
I can get the hours, but I feel that the years of use and I can get the average amount of hours and I can get the, hours, but I feel like a 2006 walk behind validates getting a new mower.
Mr. Chair.
That's fine, but I have a question first. Do we ever look into rehabbing equipment?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, we
Matt.
have.
All right, so Eileen said yes. Matt, you want to weigh in as well, please?
Yeah, I know, and Eileen can't see me. I want to make a couple of comments. I want to assure the board that Eileen's department runs these things into the ground. And I don't remember how many years ago it has been since we replaced one of the other mowers. It had been put off so long, it literally caught fire and burned to the ground, and it had to be an emergency purchase. And I really do believe that she does, her crew does a great job of stringing these things along. As she said already, the Exmark has no value left. It is run out. And, with all due respect to my colleagues here on this board, you get this packet in advance. If you want to know the number of hours, I think it would be in everyone's best interest if you would put that question forth in advance or let Eileen know that you're going to want that so we can have a discussion about it, because it's not the kind of thing you're going to have off the top of your head. I don't think it's a fair question, quite honestly. It sort of puts her on the spot. But, here's the thing, it's June. You're not going to meet again till July. She's in the middle of her season, the heaviest growth season, and she has a very thin staff. If she's not properly equipped, if the staff is not properly equipped to do the job, they're not going to get it done. That's what I want to share with this board, and I would respectfully ask that you pass this. These are old machines, and they do a very good job of maintaining them.
Hey, Matt, Bob, I'd like to jump in here. I wasn't trying to put anybody on the spot. I like to have the information to make decisions. I did call her a couple of days ago and asked her the questions. I think it's important for the board to know what's going on. We're bodies on old chassis and stuff like that. I just need information so I can make an educated decision. I'm sorry to ask questions, and I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot.
No, I respect that, Nick. I respect that, Nick. I'm just saying it's not the normal thing that somebody would have.
And Matt, she's the one that said it had many hours, and I just wanted her to clarify how many was many hours. That's all I was doing.
Okay, good point. Cynthia, looks like it's hard to tell. Your picture is sideways. Is your hand up again?
You're sideways too in my world. Hold on. Yeah, you're sideways too. So, yeah.
I'll take my grounding as alternate universe.
Okay. So I want to say sort of the same thing, Nick said, but why can't we, when we get a presentation for something or a request, why can't that just be something that goes along with it? Is just so that we get a sense. Because if this is their season, one would think that they might have come sooner. And then if you think about the budget season, we got $100,000 from their program. I'm just saying, it doesn't make any sense to me why we wouldn't have certain just standard information going forward about usage and
All right, look, points taken. All I would say is that one person's standard information is not another person's standard information. And, you know, Eileen, the others make themselves available. So I would ask that we do what Nick does and that is make the phone call in advance, kind of do that advanced homework.
Yes, Mr. Chair, if I
Yeah,
may.
go ahead, Matt.
I want to point out that this isn't the first time you've seen this. This was in her last budget presentation and the budget presentation before. This is old news. This was pre-approved by both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance previously to be in the capital non-recurring budget for when the time came that we could make the purchase. I just want to, that is an important point.
Yep. And that's actually the question that I had, and this is probably more for Bob and Brad. I think we had this in the fiscal year 22 non-recurring budget, capital non-recurring budget. It sounds like Eileen needs this immediately or in the very near term. So I assume we're not going to wait. It's all fungible in a way anyways, right? So but we're not going to wait until July 1st. We'll place the order soon. Is that right?
Yeah, these items were in the capital non-recurring plan for last year. At least 2 or 3 of them.
Two, I think two, Bob.
At least
the
2,
lawn
yeah.
mower and the aerator.
So,
but it's in there for. I think what you're telling us is the year in which we've had it on the list is not going to delay the purchase.
No.
Okay. All right.
In that account now, right? There's money in that non-occurring.
There's plenty of money in that account.
Yeah.
We're buying it for this year. We're working still. Right.
Correct.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Any other questions by members on the Board of Finance? All right.
Motion that we purchase 4 items, and I do believe the Park and Rec does a good job. And again, asking questions is not a bad thing, but again, I'd like to make a motion. We approve these 4 purchases. Do I have a second?
I'd like to second. I also like to say that I have a lot of trust in Eileen over the years. I know what she would present as a lot of credibility, a lot of honesty behind it. I know she works hard at this and has a whole crew that works hard. So I urge that we accept this motion.
And I assume, Nick, right in the motion is for an amount not to exceed the $41,796.10. Yep. Okay. Thank you for that motion. Discussion.
Eileen, I just have a question. What happens to the old equipment? Is that something that just gets trashed or we can keep to use in less, I don't know, difficult areas, or like, what do we do with that?
The Exmark, we can trade it in for the value that they might give us, was what I was thinking. Sometimes we've used them for parts. And then the walk behind, we were going to keep so we could cut some higher brush areas if we need it with it, because it's a little bit bigger deck than the one we're getting, because the one we're getting is for the smaller islands that we thought we'd try to make them look good. So we are going to keep the walk behind and use it to help us out with certain areas. But the Exmark, definitely, we probably were going to trade in.
So is there do we know the value of the trade-in? Can that be?
It's only, I've been told that right now it's about $500 and maybe $1,000. So.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Cynthia?
Yeah, I want to also say, I mean, I'm all for getting this equipment, and I think that Eileen does do a great job. My issue is with the process. It just seems a little off to me, because maybe instead of burning to the ground, get them sooner so that the trade-in value is higher. And, I'm just saying, it just seems, it shouldn't be, and then we should know these things, like say, well, I know what the trade-in value is now, and maybe it's a good time. I'm not at all criticizing Eileen. I'm just saying maybe it's for the process, it might be better understood. Thank you.
Any more discussion? Not seeing any. All those in motion made, motion seconded. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It looks unanimous. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Eileen. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Moving on to the next agenda item, the consideration of approval to transfer funds from the general fund balance to pay down school project-related short-term debt. I'd like to turn it over to Bob and Brad at this time.
Okay, so we have $20 million in short-term debt coming due July 23rd. That note will be turned over to a 20-year bond. So the proposal here, which was approved by the Board of Selectmen, that will go to the town meeting, is to move $990,000 out of the fund balance to reduce the amount of money that we're going to bond. So we'll bond $990 less the $20 million on July 23rd.
Okay. All right. Any
Quick question.
questions?
Yep.
Nick?
Bob, the fund balance, I'm sorry, what is the dollar amount we have in our savings account? Was it to 20 million, but we want to take 900 out? I'm sorry, just explain that one more time. I think I missed.
Right now, the fund balance as of last year, it's gone, it probably will go up just slightly this year. I think we're going to have a surplus, and I'd talk about that later on in the controller's report. But as of the year ending June 30th, 20, we had 18,615,255.
And you want-
I actually wanted to go higher, but if we went over $1 million, then we would have had to have a referendum. We wouldn't have had enough time to accomplish that. So we're taking the 990 at this point, taking it out of the fund balance, leaving the remaining dollars in there for other purposes later on during the future fiscal years. That's all.
You're
We're in
taking
great shape that way.
on the debt, so we don't have to bond so much.
That's
And it
right.
was-
That's right.
We have to.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And Bob, I believe, right, you had discussed this with the bond advisor who estimated what the interest savings would be, and they were significant.
They were. I mean, not just this, but with additional pay downs on a note, because I think the note's going to be for something less than the 20 million, 19 million 010. It's going to be about a $900,000 savings over a 20-year period in interest.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions?
Bob,
I said-
what's the,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Say, go ahead, Robert.
what would be the premium
ahead.
from the bonding of the short-term debt?
It's not known at this time what the premium would be, but New Fairfield did something similar to this. And the plan is on this premium that we'd apply it to the outstanding note to reduce the face value of the note. So that that will also reduce the interest that we're going to be paying over the next 20 years.
Okay. And what does that generally run? Somewhere around 5-10%? The
No,
premium?
well, last year it was like 2.4 million on $20 million. Yeah, so a little bit higher than the 10% figure,
Okay.
but it varies. I mean, it depends on what the market's going to bear.
I was just asking for estimated.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, and Bob, I think it might be helpful then also for members to know that the Board of Selectmen approved this, right? Was it their June 2nd meeting? But they did
Last week, correct.
June 1st.
June 1st, all right, and a special town meeting is scheduled for Monday, June 14th, 7 PM, just to fill out the facts. Cynthia, go ahead.
Yeah, great idea. I would do it if there was a timeline. I don't know what that is. What's happening?
It was somebody else. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Okay, yeah, I would do it if it was my own personal money. It would probably like $9.90. But I guess my question is now, the bond rating agencies, would they consider this a town improvement? Because Bob Kay has said many times that, taking money out of the general fund is a little dicey. So I just want to know what the bond rating agencies, what they consider town improvements, and if this is, are we going to affect our rating?
This will not, talking to the financial advisor, this is not going to affect the rating. When you use the fund balance to mitigate debt, it's a good thing. If you use it just to cover operating expenses, that's something they don't like to do. So if you use it for capital expenditures, if you use it for this, for reducing debt, it's a good thing, and they don't have an issue with that. We're going to be talking to them on June 23rd We have S&P rating call at noontime on the 23rd. And it's in the official statement, but it will be all explained to them at that point. I'm sure if they have any questions, negative questions or positive, they're going to ask, so it's going to be fine, I'm sure. It's been in the past. We've done this on 990 on a short-term debt, probably, I think it was 2017. We did the exact same thing. So, and there was no issue with it.
Any other questions for Bob from the Board of Finance members?
I would like to make a motion that we move the 990 and pay down on our short-term debt for the school system.
Second.
And second, and Nick, I'm assuming that in that motion, right, it's, to be clear, it's from the general fund balance.
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor, excuse me, Nick with the motion, do we have a second? Robert on a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Good deal. And again, for folks who are on the call, the special town meeting is scheduled for Monday, June 14th at 7 p.m. All right. Thank you, Bob, on that. Moving on to the next agenda item, it is the consideration of potential purchase of open space using general fund balance. In the materials, we have the settlement agreement. We have relevant legal documents. We have support letters from the Bethel Land Trust, the Newtown Forest Association, and the Northwest Conservation District. And we have surveys. So we have quite a bit in the way of documentation. However, I do see that Beth is with us tonight. Beth, would you like to add anything to the discussion before we begin our deliberation?
Yes, I will say that I was conducting a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting and noticed that you did have some public input in the beginning of your meeting at the same time. So I think a lot of the emphasis on the positiveness of this purchase was discussed at that point. To get down to the more of the factual parts of this, I just want to briefly tell you the Planning and Zoning Commission has entered into an agreement with Shelley Woods LLC and Oakwoods LLC as part of the settlement of a lawsuit based on decisions made by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Tonight's request to meet with you pertains to one portion of that settlement, and that is that me making that noise?
No, I'm sorry. It looks like Scott. Sorry to call you out, Scott.
I'll
Scott,
take my earphones off because it's
Can
distracting.
you mute your line, please?
Hold on a minute. Hold on.
Dion, can you also mute?
Can ask him to mute, but.
There we go. We're good.
There we go. Okay.
I apologize. Now I can hear okay. Also, where I left off, it's a purchase of 7.86 acres. You can go through your documents and see what is included there. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. The commission would strongly urge the town to purchase the Shelley Road property because it adds to our existing trail system as expressed by many other peoples that spoke earlier this evening. The contribution that we're looking for from the town is $300,000. Now, the Planning and Zoning Commission has a special fund, which is called an open space account. That is where developers over a period of time, instead of giving open space to the town, they do a monetary contribution. The Planning and Zoning Commission is going to contribute $200,000 towards the purchase of this land. Also, you have to also take into consideration right now, based on the denial that the Planning and Zoning Commission has made in relation to both of these pieces of property, one located on Good Hill Road, the other located on Shelley Road, we're looking at the cost of approximately, I would say, between $100,000 and $150,000 in legal fees if it goes through the court system. That's the brass tacks of it. I can get into more of the positiveness of this purchase in regards to the open space, but I do believe that Lou Valenti and other people who are familiar with the Frank Preserve have spoken very eloquently about that. if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them if I can.
Beth, you're saying that 150,000 in legal fees is what we would avoid by going ahead with this settlement offer? That would
Yes.
be in addition to what we've already incurred?
Correct.
Did we make a motion for discussion?
No, we did not. We're just asking Beth questions.
Okay.
Right. The motion will be made, and if people want to discuss an alternative motion or a modification of motion, we will do that next. Brian, you're up.
I guess my only question is, were there any attempts to purchase this when it had first come on the market? You know, I remember when this lot came on, I don't remember how many years ago it was, but I think it was listed for like 150 at the time or something like that. So I'm just curious, like, do any of the agencies look at these larger parcels next to our open space and, you know, make an attempt to purchase it? Because it seems like this probably would have been, and again, I'm not looking in hindsight, I'm just trying to figure out in the future, you know, are we looking at these parcels that are next to our open space? Because on this one, we probably would have saved 400 grand, you know, if we had bought it when it was on the market back then. I remember the lot. I'm pretty sure I'm 100% right. I remember this lot when it came on. So do we do that?
The lot came on the market as part of a 5-lot subdivision, and it was purchased by Mr. Draper for 150,000 in approximately 2010. If I recall correctly from my own background that I did on this, because I did have a similar question asking myself, Brian, the same thing. It was on the market for several years after he purchased it or decided to put it on the market, and it was on the market for $250,000. At that time, it was during more of like a recession area, and the town did not look at purchasing it, no. We do look at purchasing property. We do have 2 other properties that we're in the process of working with people on them, and we do our best with what we have.
Thank you.
I have a question for Bob Kay. A little while ago, you explained that taking money from our general fund to pay debt and for capital improvements would be acceptable to our for our rating agency. Is this purchase of open space similarly thought of that way?
Yeah, this is similar to a capital expenditure, obviously, and it's an asset on the book. So there's a balance there between fund balance and also capital, and there's potentially nothing wrong with this. We've done this before with other pieces of property, one up at Hickok that I remember, and even a Frank property.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Beth? Not
I have a
seeing it.
question. Oh, sorry. Beth, I have a question. So you mentioned that in a recessionary period, the value of the property was 250. Do we have an assessment of what the value of the property is today if it were to go back on the market?
No, we don't.
Thank you.
Cynthia?
So I was kind of straight because I'm not up to speed on the whole story of it. Are you saying that this is from a settlement with Jim Draper that he filed against zoning? And yeah, the same with what Brian said was even in a recession, we still had a bunch of money in the general fund. And I'm just thinking that it just seems more reasonable, even in a recession, if this land, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer about the land. It's right next to the Trump property. So I'm just wondering why that wasn't explored further. But I'm really more interested in the settlement part of it. Can you just explain that a little bit more, Beth? Thanks.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if I have hearing issues, but no, seriously, it's there's a large ping or something that I'm picking up bits and pieces and not the whole question.
Yeah, Cynthia's line is coming and going on the discussion. Cynthia, you can ask it again. I think maybe another way of doing this is your questions are addressed in the materials. So I don't know if you want to try to get an opportunity to read those materials and then circle back with Beth.
Well, I can circle back in the car, otherwise I would be reading them now. I'm not going to claim the family emergency that I have. I know the Fulton County has my record, but I did not have time to actually review it closely. I just wanted to understand the settlement aspect of it and what was filed against the zoning. Was it by family reasons?
Okay, again, you're kind of coming in and out. I think what's in front of us is a $300,000 ask to meet with the planning and zoning 200 for a total amount of 500,000. Our only involvement is as to the Shelley Road, not the other aspect of this compromise that is a 2-property compromise, right? Good Hill and Shelley.
That's correct.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
All right, so any other questions from Board of Finance members?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the expenditure of $300,000 from our fund balance to purchase this property as described.
Is there a second? Karen Foster seconds. Discussion further.
Yeah, I would like to jump in. Bob, I feel like there's a knife on our throat right now. I understand we're going to protect a couple neighborhoods with this agreement. We're going to have a bunch of mature trees, but the town is doesn't want to raise taxes. We have fire trucks to buy, ambulances to buy, school stuff to buy, and we're buying land. The only reason I'm going to support this is because it's helping a couple neighborhoods. That's the only reason. I don't like the theory why we're doing this. It feels like the gas line theory to me, and I'm not happy about it, but I'm going to support it. And what black and white to me, I'm always going to how I feel. And I know that the Tim Draper, and again, I just don't like how it's happening, but I am going to support it. So,
thank you, Nick. Any Brian?
I support the purchase. My only comment, like I said, I hope in the future we just try and identify these parcels. On this particular vote, based on I know Tim pretty well, I'm going to obviously abstain. I don't think it's appropriate for me to, cast a vote on a decision like this, having, knowing the individual. But, I think it's important to increase the town's open space. I think it's never a bad thing to increase trails and recreational opportunities. I just like to try and get them before while they're a lower price.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion from humans? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
I abstain.
All righty, you got that, Dion? Okay, good. Let's go to the last agenda item.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, may I just make one other comment? First of all, I want to thank the commission for their comments and their thoughts on this. And could I just clarify one thing in regards to if we know before and planning and so on and so forth. I had to think for a minute, Brian, but this particular piece of property was subdivided prior to the town's purchase of the Frank property. So it was owned privately by an individual person. I was knocking myself because I do agree with you. We should be looking at these properties closer, but that's the reason why it was not looked at closer at the time.
Thanks, Beth.
You're welcome.
All right, let's move on to the last. Certainly, Beth. Thank you very much to you and to the committee. All right, moving on to the last agenda item, comptroller's report. Turn it over to Bob and to Brad.
Okay. I believe everybody received the May 31st report that was sent out yesterday. If you look at the revenue side of it, we're $140,350 shy of our budgeted amount. That's as of May 31st. I know of at least 160,000 that came in June 4th from the state of Connecticut. And there's been additional revenue from Park and Rec that has come in, $60,000, $70,000. since this report was put together. So we're going to exceed the budgeted amount of revenue. Obviously, the use of money, the interest is down to next to nothing at this point. But, you know, considering all of the other areas, we're doing very well. We're going to collect additional taxes, not a lot for the current year, because at this point, the collection rate is 99.31%, May 31st, which is exceeding last year's May 31st of 98.8. So we're not going to get to 100. I don't think we're going to get to 98.5. So the amount that's going to be coming in is going to be minimal. We're going to collect a lot of taxes for the future, you know, prepaid taxes for next year. But we're going to increase the 205, probably up to maybe another $150,000. So surplus wise on a revenue, we're going to be okay. Nothing like we did in prior years, only because of park and revenue being down and also the interest income being down. But overall for revenue, I think we're in great shape considering the year that we just went through. And just to point out, Park and Rec over the last two months, less than 2 months, since they opened up the signups for the camp, they've collected upwards of $160,000, and they're still, you know, have another month or so to collect. So, you know, we're in good shape with the revenue. Expenses, we're going to be fine. We have to do a number of allocations on the expenses, but I would suspect we're probably going to have $300,000 to $400,000 left over in the expense category. And nothing, I didn't see when I did the analysis, anything that's really, other than the normal cases that are popping up, that, is going to create any problems. Even the professional services only went up, I think, 15,000 from the prior month. So we're in good shape that way. So we have the bonding, like I mentioned before, June 23rd is the S&P call. And then on July 14th is the bond sale. And then we close on July 23rd. As far as COVID money, we found out this week that, or last week, that we're going to be receiving 5.859 from the federal government. It's going to come through the state. And the pass through on the county allocation is 3.8. And the amount from the what they call the non-entitlement units is $2,013,000. That was raised from 1.9. Not a lot, but it went up a little bit. So the total is 5.8, and we'll receive this year in 21, 2.929, and next year the same amount of money. They're going to split it over a 2-year period. So that's money that we have to take into consideration. Part of it already has been used, a very small amount for the mill rate. We used it for the interest loss that we had this current year. But there's a number of things that we'll probably have to talk about how it's going to be used going forward. But
So Bob, again, I ask in terms of fiscal year to date, in terms of Park and Rec, you said we had 160,000 collection in the last 2 months. What is that fiscal year to date number in terms of the revenue part on activities?
Park and Rec right now is 276, 625, 74 cents. But you got to remember, part of that 160 is as of today, talking to Eileen, she said she had that over the last 2 months, about 160,000 that came in. So part of that's not in that figure at this point, but we budgeted 640,000. So, you know, earlier in the year when COVID was active, I mean, we had no programs going. So that's, I mean, we got hit really bad there.
Sure.
And obviously the interest rates, I mean, Brad told me today, we got the statement in from Union Savings. We're getting 15 basis points. 15 was probably what, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago that we got that. And then it went up to where we're collecting maybe 800,000 in interest. And now we're down to 65,000. I mean, it's crazy. You know, I mean, we have the money that's in the accounts and we're earning next to nothing, you know.
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The bonding call, is that something that's a Zoom and a public call, or is that a kind of a?
No, that's just between the financial planner, Matt myself, Bob can be on the call, Terry Yansky and Brad.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, can I just clarify the COVID monies? So the 5.859 million is just for the town, or does that include the
No,
education
that's
side as
just the
well?
town. The Board of Ed is separate. That's like, it's 3 million, but there's a holdback with the state. So the Board of Ed's gonna get like 2.6, 2.7, in addition to this 5.8.
So that is for the Board of Ed, that's for this year though, or does that?
That's gonna be
2
over a
years?
2-year period as well. All the funds are being paid out over a 2-year period.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, I'd like to motion we accept Bob Kay's report as presented tonight.
Yeah, Nick, I'm sorry. I just have one, well, 2 questions, sorry. Bob, Brad, when I look at the expenses, large amounts unexpended and miscellaneous charges and the Board of Ed, I don't know if you can address the Board of Ed or not. Is that just timing at this point?
That is, I mean, the miscellaneous charges is with the money, we were worried about COVID and all, so we didn't transfer the 650,000 into the CNR. So that's one of the big items in there.
And the Board of Ed still has their teacher balloon payment.
That too, yeah.
Which
And
hits
that's,
in a week
it
or
always
two.
scares me. The first year I was here, I walked around a number of nights before that payment was made because it's like $6 million. It's a scary number, you know, so, but we're okay now. I don't have to walk around. I get up at 3 o'clock. It's all right. I still go back to sleep.
Bob,
So it's just,
scared about the $6 million payment. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
all right, so just timing then. All right, got it. Back to Nick's motion to accept the comptroller's report as submitted. Is there a second?
Second.
Robert on a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, with nothing left on the agenda, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, good deal. Meeting has concluded. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of
Great
the
evening.
evening. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Okay, that's it.